and welcome to today's Thrive Programme podcast. Today, I'm very excited because I have got one of my clients, and we only spoke last week, didn't we, to sort of have our final session. So I would like to introduce you to Sam, who is 28, lives in Melbourne, Australia, and he has come on to help inspire others about what learning to thrive looks like and where he put the effort and what made the biggest differences and what was difficult. Just a real, genuine, real life story. So thank you so much in advance, Sam. It's going to help so many people.
Yeah, happy to help as much as I can. So thanks for having me on.
It's almost, I was thinking this morning as I was getting ready, it's a bit of full circle because didn't you say when we first met, you said, I was listening to the podcast and I thought, I'm just going to do it right now. And here you are recording.
Exactly.
One.
Yeah. That's exactly right. Yeah. The podcast, listening to an episode of the podcast is what made me reach out to you. So yeah.
Brilliant. So why did you come? What were you struggling with? What was life like? What's the story?
So struggled with emetophobia pretty much my whole life, I guess, all the way back until I was about 6, which is when I can really remember to. So yeah, just had a very intense fear of vomiting, of throwing up. Not so much other people, sometimes yes, but only if it meant that I was going to be sick as well. But yeah, controlled everything that I did, everything that I didn't do. Everything was kind of, I guess just like around the phobia, where I could go, what I couldn't go, what I could eat, what I could do, what I could expose myself to. And so, yeah, it got better and worse throughout my life. There were times where, like, it was almost non-existent, sort of in the back of my mind, but enough to where you can function. And then, I guess before I reached out to you, I was really struggling. I was kind of like in the deep end of it, which of like agoraphobia as well. And I guess I got to a point where it was even a struggle just to like leave my house. So yeah, just leaving my house, going down the street, I'd panic, have panic attacks, constant anxiety, couldn't sleep, just thoughts all the time of, what could go wrong, what if, and yeah, I was just like riddled with anxiety and anxious thoughts. So yeah, that's pretty much the crux of it. Yeah.
So at 28 years old, life was understandably feeling a bit small, and there'll be loads and loads of people who are maybe not emetophobia sufferers, but agoraphobia, OCD, anxiety, panic, all of that kind of stuff. So we'll definitely be able to relate to what you're talking about. And how much of your thinking every day do you think was affected by feeling scared, feeling panicky, trying to control, getting stressed?
Like 90%. Yeah. It was like consumed. Yeah. Absolutely consumed by that, of anxiety, feeling anxious, trying to calm down, trying not to feel that way, trying to avoid this, control that. Yeah. Almost all of my waking thoughts were about that. Yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes dreams, I think, you often have powerless dreams, but we don't even, you wake up and forget them. But sometimes people say, oh, my dreams have changed having done the course, because when you're thinking more powerfully in the day, you're obviously thinking more powerfully anyway. Like your brain is trained to think in that way. But a little side fact there. Okay, so you reached out.
Yep.
Why the Thrive program? What enticed you about this course?
I had done it before. So I've done Thrive before, but what I guess led me to that first time that I did it was I just Googled. I got to a point where like I Googled specifically for like fear of vomiting. And that was one of the first things that popped up. And when I clicked it and I had a look at it all, it just kind of made sense. Like made sense that it would work. And I mean, prior to that, I didn't try a bunch of stuff. I went to a psychologist maybe 2 or 3 times. That was a long time. I was probably maybe like 15 when I did it. And it just didn't make sense. Like, I mean, I remember in the sessions, like they just immediately tried to make it about a traumatic past event in my childhood and something that happened in my childhood. And my childhood was actually like really good. Like I didn't have anything crazy or traumatic going. Like I had, good parents. I had like a decent upbringing. So yeah, it just kind of felt like it was such a generic answer, or they weren't really delving into what was going on. And so I just never went back. I never went back to it. Tried to sort of like ignore it for a while after that. And then I Googled, found the Thrive program, bought the book. And the minute I read the book, I just knew that this would be it. Like the way that everything is laid out and explained, like Rob and the team know exactly what we're thinking. And it just made me think he must know how to get out of it as well, or how to solve it. So yeah.
Yeah. So I'm playing skeptical viewer here.
Yep.
If it works and you knew it was going to work, why didn't it work? Why didn't it work? How didn't you get there the first time you did it? What do you think was different the second time?
I just think I didn't fully understand the content, and going through it the second time with yourself, it just very much so was like Thrive is like such a doing thing. You can't just read the book and then expect that it's all going to get better. I mean, that's a key part of it, because you need to understand why you're doing things, but you got to get out there and actually do what the book says to do and follow the exercises. You have to do things consistently. I remember when I first did it as well, like I'd do enough to where I'd feel better and I'd improve, and then I'd taper off because I was feeling better, and then I'd feel worse again, and then it's like, oh, it's come back. I mean, there is no it, but it felt like it's come back, and then you just go like you're just in a cycle. So, but I think that's kind of it. Yeah, I just didn't put in enough effort for long enough, I'd say.
Yeah. Okay. So second time round, yeah. What did you learn? I guess, what did you do? How did you? I mean, would you say you're over it? Would you say emetophobia free, agoraphobia free? How do you quantify that? I mean, it's personal, right? People are going to have their own views, but for you, what does that mean?
I would say so, yeah. Because I mean, like, however many few weeks ago, like leaving my house was scary, and now I go out, I socialize with friends. I've been to birthday parties, events. I've been out drinking with my mates and like doing heaps of stuff. So I'm hardly actually ever home now. I'm only at home like at night, come home to eat dinner, go to sleep, and then the next morning I'm out again. So yeah, definitely would be over it. Like things like, especially with like emetophobia related, like I just don't really worry about that anymore. Like I'm not checking the milk or like checking the chicken anymore. And I've been around sick kids that have thrown up, and it's just like, it's whatever now. The fact that I'm not plagued by thoughts day in, day out tells me that, yeah, I would be.
Yeah. So how then? So when you first, so we always with everybody take a purpose-built quiz to give you an idea about your thinking styles and your beliefs and help you understand why you're struggling with whatever symptom you're struggling with. And you took your first report on the 30th of May, right? So June was really when we got cracking, and
Yep.
it's only September now. So
Yeah.
what have you done? How have you made those changes in that time?
Exactly what I did day to day.
Yeah. What
Yeah.
did you have to understand? What effort did you have to put in on a daily basis? Because you said a second ago, reading the book and understanding it intellectually is part of it, but
Yeah.
you can't get better by sitting at home reading a book. So
Yeah.
how did you attack this? What did you start to do and train yourself better in?
Yeah. So for the understanding part, first I understood that it wasn't something that was happening to me or like attacking me that was outside of me. It was something that I was doing, and like not noticing it, but I was creating this certain like ways of thinking, and that was causing it. And the avoidance and controlling, trying to over control things is what was doing it. So the moment I understood that I wasn't actually afraid of being sick, or I wasn't actually afraid of leaving my house or anything like that. That's not what my fear was. I was just afraid of the way that I felt, or the way I thought those things were going to make me feel. And so then what I did, I remember what we spoke about. We started like small, like doing something difficult every day. And the first thing I did was a cold shower. After our first session, I went and had a cold shower. And it doesn't, like, I mean, a lot of people might be watching and think it's not terrifying. Like, and it wasn't something that was like terrifying to me, but it was uncomfortable to sit in there and to feel that way. And one of the things I was afraid of, like in terms of feeling anxious, is like your heart starts to pump fast and your breathing feels uncontrollable. And I think that's a threat, or that's something that's going to kill me. So under the cold shower, that's exactly what happens. Like my body goes into shock, my heart starts pumping fast, I'm breathing. Like you feel a little bit dizzy too because the cold water on your face. And so it almost brought on those symptoms of panic. And so it kind of taught me how to tolerate that feeling a bit better, and the fact that nothing actually happens. It feels a bit uncomfortable, but nothing actually happens. And so if I did it again with something else, like leaving the house, it would be the same thing. And that's exactly what I did. So then I went for drives every day, 5 minutes away from my house. I felt uncomfortable, felt anxious, sat there for a minute or two, then went home. The next day I'd sit there for 2 or 3 minutes and then go a little bit further until I built tolerance up to where I could be further and further away. So that's what I did. As well as like I tolerated a lot, like I just gave up control in like my day-to-day life, with anything really. Like let somebody else make me like a cup of tea instead of me doing it, so I could sniff the milk or check the milk and just trust that it was going to be all right. Or like be a passenger in the car instead of me needing to drive, or taking my car so that I could leave if I felt anxious. I just put myself in uncomfortable situations every day. Not really, really bad, but like something that was just slightly out of my comfort zone. And I just tolerated it and I coped. And I specifically processed what it meant about myself and my skill set and how well I did. And I thought about those things like all day. I picked apart beliefs as well, beliefs that were like holding me back, of, that it was dangerous to be far from home. Instead of just automatically resorting to believing my emotions or believing my brain, I sat down at my computer and I looked at, is there actual evidence that this belief is true or is it false? And then sometimes it'd only take me like an hour or two and I'd pick apart a belief that I had believed for so long. And now that it's gone, like a huge portion of that anxiety was just like gone with it. So those are probably the main things. Yeah.
Probably I couldn't have explained it any better. I remember at the start, in fact, I opened up one of the emails, session 2. We'd been chatting about building coping skills and really getting that this wasn't about driving. This wasn't about how far you are from the house. This is really just about getting less scared of the emotions that you create and learning to manage your emotional responses to the milk, the chicken, whatever it might be. And you sent this lovely email that said, I was having a read over my notes from our last 2 sessions and it's all making sense. All the beliefs, all the behaviors, all the avoidance, I've created them all just to avoid a feeling I don't like. It's really that simple. And you then said, get good at dealing with those feelings equals overcome emetophobia. And I think that was the moment. Well, you know, obviously getting it to that point, but you being able to then articulate back your understanding of how you'd, unknowingly created this kind of controlled life that you were living in. And it makes total sense when you're feeling emotions at that level, proper fear, panic, terror, worry. Of course, any of us, that's why most of us end up agoraphobic, anxious, panic attacks and things like that. But it's lovely hearing from someone that's not a coach who's on that side. Lovely hearing from a client, if you like, explaining how they've done it in, a fairly short time, really. But like you said, you just did it every day. Looked at the beliefs, built better coping mechanisms. So that's a good question, because that was what you were asking me at the beginning. So you were going out doing your drives, and that would have been something that you'd have avoided. You wouldn't have really driven too far from the house at all, if at all. So, and you'd say, well, what do I say to myself in those moments? What do I say and what do I not say? It's almost like that's the bit that I think a lot of people get stuck on, because if you haven't built up that knowledge about how to cope and how to manage your self-talk and how to reassure yourself and help yourself feel safe on the inside rather than feeling scared on the inside, how would you explain that now? Like, what does that look like when you're in a slightly uncomfortable situation, but you're staying in it and coping rather than running away?
Yeah. A big thing with something that you sent me as well, you were kind of explaining what anxiety even is, and that feeling, and why it's not dangerous. And I think understanding that at first was a big thing for me, because I realized that when I do feel anxious in a certain situation, my heart beating fast or my breath feeling, quicker and that sort of thing, it's actually my body protecting me. So it can't be dangerous. How could a safety mechanism, like a bodily safety mechanism, kill me? It's pumping me to deal with a threat or to cope with something. So it's actually a good thing. So I started to think that way and think, oh, my body's helping me. My body's helping me here to overcome this or to cope with this. And so first I understood that, and then like realized that wasn't, it was only ever going to feel really uncomfortable. That's the worst that would happen. I wouldn't be in actual serious danger if it wasn't actually a dangerous situation. But then I kind of just would keep perspective over what like the situation is. So if I had driven 10 minutes from my house and I was feeling really anxious and I wanted to go home, I'll just tell myself like, I'm just outside. Like there's a bunch of people out here as well. The sun's out. People do this for fun. People hate being at home. People like to go outside, and so I brought perspective to the situation as well. And I just kind of told myself, I've done hard things before. This is just another challenge that I know that I can overcome. Like I could tolerate this. I'll just tolerate it for a minute longer, 2 minutes longer. I don't even like visualize or imagine myself at the end of it feeling really proud of myself that I didn't run away, that I coped. So yeah, that's probably it.
And
Yeah.
at the beginning, that feels very difficult. Yeah,
Yeah.
the first time you got in the car, the first time you didn't check the milk. I mean, some were probably harder than others, but when you're at home and the milk thing, you did that regularly throughout the day, and that
Yeah.
was all throughout the weeks. And but you could then see your progress, right? You could start to think, oh, I didn't even have an anxious thought about that today. So you can sort of stick with those little habits and realize that you're making progress, because now that just feels, I don't need to worry about that because I've kind of built up enough evidence now that I don't need to check the milk anymore. But
Yeah.
to begin with, when you were going out driving or going out, you had a party once, didn't you? Your niece's party, that
Yeah.
felt a big deal because you'd have been around people and kids and been out a lot of the day. Does feel scary the first time, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Very scary. Like a lot so there's moments in it where you think like I have to get out of here. Like I wouldn't be able to handle this. So yeah. Yeah. The first time is always scary.
So how did you get through those moments? That when your brain is working really hard to convince you and keep you safe, how
Hmm.
did you manage those moments and manage to keep moving forward?
Something you told me, which was ride the wave of my emotions. That was a real big one. Knowing that the way that I feel, even if it's really intense right now, it's temporary. Like it's physically impossible for me to feel terrified for long periods of time. I have to calm down eventually. So if I just stick it out, then I'm eventually going to calm down. But sometimes there's even things that you have to do as well. Like if I had to, you know, leave, like walk inside or something, like if the party's outside the backyard, if I need to go and sit in the car for 30 seconds and just gather my thoughts, like even that's okay. It's better than running away home. Like, so yeah, little things like that. If I got to go gather my thoughts for 30 seconds, have a little breathe and then go back in and go again. That was something.
Yeah.
But yeah, just kind of knowing that I could ride the wave of my emotions, like they will sort of calm down. And if they did feel really intense, like sometimes I'd even, demand it to get stronger. So it's kind of like tickling yourself, I guess. It's not, you can't feel ticklish. You're not going to laugh if you're tickling yourself. So if you're telling your brain to panic, suddenly the fuel's been cut. It's not as scary anymore because your brain's kind of like, wait, hold on a minute. Like there mustn't be a threat to feel that way. So yeah.
Yeah, which takes real courage. But you're right. I think when you've tried for so long to avoid those feelings, the thing you haven't tried yet is bring it on. Like, I'm not
Yeah.
scared of you anymore. Give me the worst panic attack you've ever given me right here, right now. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
the anxiety and the fear is in the resistance to feeling that. So all of our efforts usually go into avoidance, fixing, running away. How can I not feel like that? There's not much that goes, right, how can I feel like that? What if I don't
Yeah.
mind feeling like that?
Yeah.
It's counterintuitive. It feels the wrong kind of effort. But you're right, it just cuts the power.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. Because I mean, it's the only, like when I had to think about it, it's like that's the only emotion that I really want to avoid intensely. I don't try and run away from feeling happy.
Yeah.
You lean into it, but fear is something that we want to push away and push aside. And that's kind of why it chases you or has such a grip on you. So if you lean into it, suddenly the power is cut. And some people like that feeling. Some people, they go whitewater rafting or jumping off high bridges because they like that feeling. So
Yeah.
yeah.
But if you think about their beliefs about those feelings, that adrenaline rush that could also be in panic, they'd find exhilarating. Their language, their words, their experience of it is like, brilliant, I'm doing something awesome here. Whereas
Yeah.
you and I would have been like, holy shit, I'm about to die. So it's the same kind of feelings, isn't it? But again, it's everything down to when you're working so hard to not feel anxious because you think you're going to die, or something's going to happen, or you're going to go crazy, when actually if you go, I don't like feeling anxious in traffic, but I can. I'm just going to ride this wave and let's see how long it lasts for this time. And you're finding different ways of coping rather than running away and avoiding. So if
Yeah.
you're in the party and you said, "Oh, I'll just go and sit outside in the car for a couple of minutes," and that's you resisting that desire to run away and avoid, which you're only going to prove to yourself you can't handle it, or put air back in that balloon that you couldn't handle it. Whereas if you go out, calm down a bit, go back in again, you're doing the opposite. You're building that confidence. You can handle it. You can get yourself through. You do have coping skills.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Because I mean, it is. It's a skill set. Learning to tolerate and to cope with those feelings is a skill set. And if you're like, if you go to the gym and you need to take a break because the weights feel heavy, you don't, you know, go off home and think, oh, it's all a waste. There's no point, and throw in the towel. You have a rest and you go back again. So it's
Yeah.
the same thing, really. Like it's not a failure if you need to take a break for a bit and then have another try. It's just like anything, really. Any skill
Yeah.
set
Yeah.
you build. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. What was the hardest thing for you?
Um, Probably not overcomplicating the process, because you so badly want to, or like I found that I so badly wanted to. The perfectionism part of it wanted me to think this has to be, if it's such a deep rooted issue, or anxiety is such a deep rooted issue, it's going to, take something drastic to feel better, or to do this, or you think you're not doing it right. Like at the end of the day, like Thrive is like, there's hard parts to it and it's difficult, it requires effort, but it's simple. The program is very, very simple. It's laid out easy. You know exactly what to do. And so, like, yeah, I find that if for me especially, because I was in the habit of thinking, you know, what if all the time, that was the same. Like, it was kind of the same thing. Like, what if I'm not doing it right? What if it's, so you kind of get stuck in that mindset of trying to overcomplicate it when it's simple.
Yeah, but that's understandable, isn't it? You so desperately want to not be struggling on a daily basis with 90% of your thinking being powerless, helpless, out of control thinking. In fact, that report, right at the start, your thinking was 27% powerful and helpful.
Yeah.
And the rest was all negative, catastrophic, worst case, controlling, avoiding type thinking, which is emetophobia, OCD, health anxiety, generalized anxiety. It's one of those, people who start around 25 to 35 will be creating one of those symptoms for them on a daily basis. But when you took your report at the end, I think it was like 70 odd, 75, something like that. 77. And again, if you keep doing it, you're another week on since we spoke last week, right? And then you know what you're doing now. But that's, well, let me not put words in your mouth. How often do you have an anxious thought or feeling now, and how do you manage it now?
It's a lot more rare. It happens still, because I feel like I'm still going to keep growing my skill set. And obviously, it's a normal emotion. Like, you're going to feel those sorts of things, especially around something new. So yeah, it depends really. If I'm doing something new and that's out of my comfort zone, then yeah, I might have a bit of nerves or a bit of anxiety around it. But because I know now how to handle it, or how to calm myself down or bring perspective in the situation, I only feel like that for like a couple of minutes, and then I feel fine. Then I feel calm. So yeah, it's pretty rare. If I'm just on my day to day, like normal day to day, I won't really have an anxious thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to be clear, your day to day now is not sitting at home, working from
No.
home, doing hobbies from home. What's your day to day now?
So now I'm back at work in the studio that I work in. So around people all the time. Obviously away from home as well. And a lot of the time it's seeing different people as well. So, but yeah, that's pretty
So
much day to
driving
day.
yourself out every day, spending the day out and about, driving yourself home or going out, eating out and stuff like that nowadays.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And you had quite a big curveball happen towards the end of our sessions. What was that?
Yeah, I had to get all my wisdom teeth out under general anaesthetic, which is something I was terrified about. Yeah. But
So you said at one point, I've got to go to well, hold on a sec, let's back up the bus.
yep.
How long have you avoided going to the dentist?
Oh, for ages. It was like years. Last time I went, it was probably like since now, it was like 3 years. Yeah. So I was
Okay.
terrified.
So have avoided going to the dentist, but couldn't avoid it anymore because you were having tooth pain, right? So you knew something was going on and it needed to be. So the first dentist trip happened, I don't know, session 5 weeks in, 6 weeks in, can't really remember.
Something like that, yeah.
Okay, so that was a big thing at the
Yep.
time. Talk us through that.
Yeah, so yeah, had pain that I guess I couldn't ignore anymore. So I thought I have to go, I have to sort this out. So I went there, and then upon her evaluating my mouth and all that, she said, "Oh, you got to get all your one of my wisdom teeth had to come out, the one that was hurting had to be removed." And she said, "I can take it out for you now," but because I was so terrified of that happening, I thought I kind of want to be asleep for it, but then I was also terrified of being asleep because I had to give up that control. So it was kind of like, yeah, just couldn't win at the time. But
Yeah.
she said to me, she goes, "Look, I think it'd be better if you just get all four out so that they don't cause you trouble down the line." She referred me to an oral surgeon to do it, and he said that he would, put me to sleep for it.
So that first dentist, you were scared.
Yes.
I remember that was looming and you were, using it as an opportunity to practice managing your thinking and preparing yourself and visualizing yourself managing it. But that was a big thing to get yourself there. You didn't have the x-rays because
Yeah, no, I
is that
didn't.
right? You
Yeah.
didn't, the thought of
She had to
having
do
that
the full mouth one because I didn't want the ones you bite down on. Fun
because
fact, I actually did those today. So that's evidence of the
oh,
coping skills.
so
I
why
did
didn't you
those
want those things? Why didn't you want those things in?
because my gag reflex was so strong because I was so afraid of throwing up. I thought I can't have anything in my mouth. Yeah.
Right. So you didn't do that, but you then got referred, and then you had to go. The next step was going to the hospital
Yeah.
to see the oral surgeon and things like that. So now you're sort of in the headspace of I can't get out of this. This is happening. So and then you went and did it. Like
Mhm.
how did you do that? What skills did you have to use? What were you doing on a daily basis? How were you managing your thinking? How were you giving up that control?
I think it was all of the work put together that allowed me to even put myself in that position in the first place because I had done hard things every day already and I had grown my belief in my ability to cope with challenges to the point where I'd even allow myself to be in that situation. That was the first step. Um, but it was also realizing that again, that's not what I was afraid of. I wasn't afraid of my wisdom teeth being taken out or anything like that. I was just afraid of not having the control in the situation and feeling panicky and that sort of thing. So realizing that, so every time that I wanted to think about it and think, oh, I should Google about what the procedure's like, what it's going to go like, realizing that I'm just looking for certainty in the situation and I should just tolerate it and cope with it instead. I'm not going to find the surgeon. I'm not the surgeon. So I just got to let them do what they have to do. And so I'd give up that control and I just cope instead. And every night as well, I would visualize it going well. Like I'd visualize myself in there. And I wasn't unrealistic about it, like visualizing myself feeling completely confident because I knew I'd be nervous on the day. Like it just would happen. So instead, I visualized myself dealing with that anxiety well, thinking that I could handle it enough to where I did it, like where I would do it. And then also coming out the other side and it being successful. Yeah.
Good. And how did you get on? Like, what was your maximum level of anxiety or nerves, do you think?
Actually, really low, which I was surprised about. Yeah, it was really low. When I got there, like it was kind of just like, it felt like just a bit of nerves, but before like something a little bit uncomfortable. That's how it felt. I definitely wasn't completely calm or confident. I walked in there thinking, I don't want to do this. Like, I'd rather not
Yeah.
do it. But I thought, like, I can do it. Like, I'd be all right. Yeah. It was just like a little bit nervous, a little bit anxious, but not panicky. Yeah.
But how would it, well, you probably wouldn't have done it before, but what would previous Sam have been like when your thinking was 27%? Uh, good. And the rest not so good.
First of all, I wouldn't have even gone. There's no way I would have even walked into the surgeon's office for the consultation, let alone like surgery. But even if I did make it into the surgery, I would have just said, "No, I can't do this," and I would have fled. I would have left. If I stayed there, I would have been like terrified, like absolute panic. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Amazing, amazing. But it just
yeah,
goes to show, it wasn't magic in any way. And if people are listening to this or watching this, I guess the emphasis is on that you've built this up, right? You understand your mind and the way that you think and why you think the thoughts you do and how you feel. You understand your bodily sensations, and you've got more helpful beliefs and understanding about A, what they are and what they mean, but B, how you can manage them, how well you can cope with them. So it's really, in a way, I kept saying to you at the time, didn't I? You're going to look back on this and think this was bloody great that this
yeah,
landed in my lap at this time, because you'd never have wanted that to happen at any point, let
yeah,
alone whilst you're learning to overcome something so big that you were. But actually, when you get out the other side and you've done it, there's like not many things that are going to be as difficult as that, really,
yeah,
in life.
yeah. Exactly right. Yeah, yeah. Beforehand, yeah, whilst doing the program, I thought like, oh, this is gonna ruin it. This is gonna because I'm just gonna be tunnel vision on it, and my thoughts are just gonna be centered around this, and it's gonna take away, all the progress that I had made. But yeah, exactly what you said was the truth. It was actually the complete opposite. I'm so glad that actually happened because it propelled me like even further. It pushed me further along than what I would have been otherwise.
Yeah, because it's another brick of that was really uncomfortable. There was a lot of unknowns. I had to give up a ton of control there. You had
Yeah,
things down, for having not had the x-rays, not wanting the x-rays, but going in and knowing you'd have a tube down your throat,
yeah,
and the anesthetic and the grogginess and the potential to feel nauseous or be sick after an anesthetic and things.
yeah,
But you realize, look, that's not in my control. I don't, it's not about those things.
yeah,
Even if those things happen, it's going to be uncomfortable. But because you trained yourself to feel uncomfortable and built up that tolerance of it, you were like, right, well, I'll just get through it if I need to, when I need to.
exactly. Yeah, that was the key. Yeah, I wouldn't like you can't jump into something terrifying straight away. You want to build the muscle up, and the fact that I built the skill up, yeah, that was the key.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So what would be your explanation of agoraphobia, emetophobia? Like, what really is it?
If, like, I'd say it's just a fear of your own emotions, a fear of feeling out of control. Yeah, that's really what it is.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so to overcome it, what do you need to do?
Put yourself in situations where you feel that way and learn how to deal with it and to cope with the situation and as well with how you're feeling
Yeah,
instead of trying to control. You give that up, give that control up, let yourself feel uncomfortable
yeah,
and just realize that it doesn't kill you. It just feels uncomfortable.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Which is not the same as exposure therapy, because exposure therapy, you're being exposed to the thing that you're scared of, whereas what we're talking about is you're exposing yourself to uncomfortable feelings, uncomfortable sensations, uncomfortable thoughts, and learning to manage that. So it's not about the situation or the environment, but more about the way that you feel. So, like you said, putting yourself in a shower wasn't your fear, but it allowed you to build up that first baby step of, I'd rather not. And your brain, I think you'd sent an email that time. Yeah, I've just got in a shower after we talked about it. I could hear myself trying to, oh,
Yeah.
start tomorrow, you'll be fine. And you were like, no, I'm going to do this properly. I'm going
Yeah.
to do it right now. And that was
Yeah.
the start of you, getting back in the car and you did it all gradually, didn't you? I mean, you had some situations where maybe it was a bigger test than you would have chosen, but I think what you did so well was you did start off with the baby steps. You didn't be that sort of perfectionist where you're like, right, I just need to go back in the studio, back to work now. Everyone
Yeah.
else can do it, why can't I? You very much just did, right, I'm just going to pootle around the local town to those traffic lights and back. So you could do it really sensibly.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I only moved up as the skill sort of built.
Yeah.
Um, I went for a little bit further every day, or did something that was a little bit harder every day. Yeah, that's yeah. Sometimes like even I would avoid. I'd go at times where like there'd be no traffic, so that it felt a little bit easier.
Yeah.
And then as I built my skill up, I'd go at like when there would be a lot of traffic, so I couldn't escape quickly. But yeah, baby steps. Yeah, for sure.
Baby steps, but it ensures a much smoother, more productive journey. Because I think it's easy to go a bit up and down and try and push yourself, but then you feel so anxious that you come back. And because you're not necessarily processing those things in learning opportunities, you're more processing it as a I should be able to do it and putting pressure on yourself and I messed up and why can't I that critical, it
Yeah,
allows you to engage in some of those other thinking styles which are part of um emetophobia and agoraphobia and things.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and you can see your progress easier too.
Yeah,
If it's like a slow bit of a slow burn, you're watching yourself progress. You can see
yeah.
exactly how you're doing it. That gives you the confidence to then go and do the harder stuff.
Yeah. What would you say the hardest belief was that you had to change?
Whew. Maybe that I could just do it in the first place. That I didn't have to live with those symptoms or those issues. Because if for me, I had felt like an anxious person since I was a kid, since I was 6. So it was hard to even imagine that it could be different, that life could be different, that I could be like a calm person or a confident person. Um, so that, yeah, that one in itself, that thinking habit, that belief style that I could come out the other side of this and actually be very different. It was probably that, yeah, because I'd never been able to imagine a different life.
No, well, you can't. You've only got your reality, haven't you? And it's really hard to have a different perspective when life sucks as much as it can do. How
Yeah,
did you overcome that then? How did you challenge that? What evidence did you have to start to build?
by directly doing it, by with all the daily activities that I mentioned that I did, by doing that and then seeing a little bit of progression, I realized that well, I could though. If I can get to the point where I can drive 5 minutes away, that means I can get to 10, which means I can get to 3 hours, 5 hours, which means I can get to flying if I want to. So yeah, just seeing a little bit of progress is enough to think I could just keep pushing this. Like why
Mm,
can't I just keep going to get to wherever I want to get to?
mm.
So
So
that
I
was the
remember
evidence.
you said that at some point, didn't you? You said I'm getting that whatever you want to do in life, you just need to get that skill set.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
If you want to speak Japanese, that's a skill set. If you
Yeah.
want to build better coping mechanisms or more confidence or more social confidence or a different job or go flying or any of that stuff, you've just got to look at it's the skill set that you're lacking in that area that you now need to go out and get. And I think it's a predictable process again. It's clear what you need to do to get there. Then that's a really powerful mindset to have.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because whatever skill set I don't have, like at least I know I could go and develop it if I wanted to.
Yeah,
Yeah. That alone makes you feel powerful. You don't even need the skill set yet, but just knowing that if I wanted to have it, I could go and do it.
100%.
Yeah.
So what's next? What's still left? What are your goals? What are you doing next? What's in Sam's life that he's excited about?
I think I'd like. Well, I have my own business. I run my own business. I do like email marketing, copywriting, advertising, and I've never pushed it far because I've always kind of been worried about certain things. What happens if I mess it up? If I mess up the client's work or something like that, or what if I can't juggle everything? So I want to push that real hard and stretch myself to see where I could take that. And I wouldn't mind doing a nice trip too. Yeah, maybe to Europe. So never been to Europe, so that'd be fun. Something like that.
Nice.
Yeah,
So life opening up a bit more, and I guess when you're on the front foot and you're thinking in a powerful way, you can set yourself those goals and think, well, that's just a bit of hard work, or I just but when you're coming from a 90% of my thoughts are you're just so consumed by the stress, the control, the avoidance, the fear on a daily basis that you can't really think about anything
yeah,
like that.
yeah. You're just trying to survive the day. Yeah, yeah. You
Yeah.
can't think of it. Yeah. So yeah, it is. It is exciting. Yeah.
So what would you say? What would be your top tips or your words of wisdom if people are listening to this and they are where you were a few months ago, where totally consumed, kind of feeling like there's no point, never going to get over it, always been like this? What would you say?
I'd say it's totally possible. Everybody, I mean myself included, and everybody else that's gone through the program, they were thinking the exact same way. I had the exact same thoughts that it wasn't going to work. I was going to be the one that it didn't work for. Mine's different. I've had it for so long. It's like I'll be the one that the program fails on. So everybody's thinking the exact same way, which shows you that you can't be the only one if we're all thinking that way. So I would say go out and do it. Absolutely jump into the program. It works. I'm evidence of it. However many other people that have been through it are evidence of it. So it absolutely works. I'd say to go and do it. Like life's too short not to. You're going to waste time. You're going to waste your life thinking that, or being stuck in that position when there is a way out. Like there absolutely is a way out. So it only takes 6 weeks of hard work and you'll feel like a completely different person. So I would say jump into the program. Even if they just buy the book, like you can buy the book and do it at home if you want. And then if you want a coach, like even better. But there's no reason not to. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's a good question. What do you think? What's the benefit of having a coach? Like for you, if you'd have read the book being where you were, you could have understood it and you could have done it. Would you have done it as quickly? Would you have done it with as much clarity around the next steps? What was your
No
experience?
way. No, me personally, I don't think I would have. I think I would have read it and then I would have got caught on something. Even if I wasn't, my perfectionism would have kicked in. I would have thought, I'm not doing it right. I would have shut the book and I never would have touched it, because that's actually happened to me. I've done that before. So having a coach, having yourself was, yeah, like priceless. Like it was unreal, because you've got somebody there that's going to hold you accountable as well. You can't really skip out on the work and not do the work. So having that support constantly as well. Like, I mean, even if I had questions or things that I didn't understand, which I had a lot of, questions and things like that, I could ask you and I'd have clarity like immediately. So it was so helpful. Yeah. If I was to do it again, or if I was to tell somebody that if they were doing it, I would advise to get a coach. Yeah, absolutely. It was so much easier, and everything was fast tracked, like you said. Like I think it would have taken me a lot longer. Maybe I would have got there, and that's fine. But if you want quick results where you feel like a different person in a few weeks, yeah, a coach is probably the way to go. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. And final question, and we've kind of said it already, but let's just leave people with this. What is the key if somebody's sitting there now with agoraphobia, terrified, scared to go out? What is it that the main thing they want to start doing in order to start to crawl their way out?
Take real small baby steps and do something a little bit, just push yourself a little bit out of your comfort zone, just on the edge of it to where you feel a bit nervous. And then after you do that, be extremely kind to yourself and reward yourself for having done so. And then just keep doing that. Yeah.
Nice. And that might
Yeah.
look different. Like I know when I first did that, it wasn't, the thought of going to do a full supermarket shop would have been too much, but maybe
Yeah.
it's just sitting in the car on the drive for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And that's the first step to being able to then go on a shopping trip. So it's really forget everybody else and forget what everyone else is doing and where they're at in their journey. Just focus on you and where you are, and what would be a little toe outside that comfort zone where it takes a bit of effort but it feels manageable. That's the start point. So figure out what that is for you, and then that's your start point that you can then build on.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly right.
Brilliant. Well, we look forward to hearing about you once you've done Europe, or once you've launched your even bigger business or whatever. But thank you so much. I think that's really so helpful, hearing from somebody that's done it very recently, clearly understands it really well and knows exactly what they've done and how they've done it, which is the key. So super useful. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Happy to help. Thank you for having me.